Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Food Thief. I'd firstly like to start by thanking everybody so much for the support that I received in my last video. I was overwhelmed with comments that people made and the support that was offered to me. So yeah, honestly, I appreciate it so much. As I'm sure you can all imagine, this is something that is so incredibly personal and private to me. Some things that are harder for me to talk about when it comes to this, especially because this really is the first time that I am ever making any of this public, voicing any of this. So it's a process for me too. So yeah, like I said, I really, hand on heart, appreciate every single person's support through this new YouTube journey. So let's get straight into it then. My second video here. As I said in my last video, this video is going to be focused on talking about sort of me as a child. Me as a child making my way through school. So starting off, it's been very interesting sort of speaking to people after I posted this first video who kind of given me their own perspectives on this. One person in particular that I spoke to was my mum, who told me quite an interesting story about me when I was 18 months old. And the reason that I would like to share this is because I feel like it's important for me to emphasize that my issues with food are something that has existed since day dot for me, literally from my earliest memories. Even now I'm finding out before my earliest memories. And it's such a small story, but it's I think it's really important to sort of illustrate how my toxic relationship with food and my issues with food are something which I believe to be quite innate. It's something that I was born having. It's within my biology to be like this. And yeah, the little story basically is that me and my family were going to Finland when I was 18 months old. So obviously everyone can envisage what an 18-month-old child looks like as a baby. And I was apparently in just a little travel cart on the plane. I have an older sister who was just there eating her plain food. And I apparently had a spoon that I was using to eat off my sister's plate. I was just eating what I wanted off my sister's plate. Obviously a baby, a undeveloped child. So the reason why I want to share this with you guys is because that's where I started with life. You know what I mean? I started having this desire to eat and desire to eat lots, I suppose. And the story that I told you guys in my first video about why I chose to call myself the food thief in relation to me stealing food when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. I went from sort of doing that as a baby to some greater or lesser extent to when I'm starting to get older. I just started to notice how my relationship with food just progressively got more and more toxic, and I became more and more addicted to it throughout my life. But this really did start from the minute I was born, and I honestly firmly believe that. Sort of when I was a child, a big thing sort of in my household when I was a kid was family meals. Every single day we would all sit down together, we would have a meal together, we'd all eat the same thing, and it would always be healthy. My mum would always make something really healthy with protein and vegetables and like a little bit of carbs. I really can't sit here and say that my mum was responsible in any way, shape or form for, me becoming the size that I did, because growing up we were healthy. It was just the quantity of food that I ate and the sneaking food that was my downfall, really. Something that's always really resonated with me is when I was just a little kid in school. I can't have been 6, 7, 8 sort of age. I can't remember specifically what year I was in or anything like this, but I was young. I remember our school used to do regular height and weight checks on us. And because of this, I think that this made me fixate on my weight because I distinctly remember on more than one occasion we would all basically line up as children do, and one at a time we would stand on the scales, our weight would be recorded, then we would go and have our height recorded, and obviously the person behind you would see what your weight was because we were all queuing. And I always remember feeling very self-conscious about the fact that the person behind me was gonna see my weight. I can't even remember who was stood behind me. I couldn't even pick it off the top of my brain whether I had a friendship with that person or not. I just remember this insane feeling of being very, very self-conscious about it, even at the age of 6, 7, 8 years old. And I remember after one particular occasion of this height and weight check being done, I think I was in the girls' toilets or something with other girls that were in my year, and think we were speaking about, you know, people's weights and things like that. And I remember one girl in particular asking me how much I weighed, and I felt this sort of like insane need to lie about my weight. Like I think it was because I knew that I was heavier than other people who were in my age group. And, you know, obviously kids, you don't want to be different, do you? You want to fit in with everybody else. But that insecurity started from being such a young child. And obviously that insecurity kind of only progressed as my issues with food progressed, as my addiction to food progressed, and as I got older, because, you know, as I sort of progressed into being a teenager, something that I remember quite vividly is that my weight began to correspond with my age. So for instance, when I was 10, I remember weighing about 10 stone, and then when I was 11, my weight went up to 11 stone, and so on. But I think that was really sort of enhanced by the things that I was sort of going through at that age. Something that I probably wasn't really aware of at the time, but have come to realise now as an adult, is that when I was experiencing some kind of trauma, I began to use food as a comfort for that. So for instance, I don't mind sharing this story with everyone, because I do feel like it was quite an important moment in my life that did shape me in many different ways. I'm not too sure if all of them were overly positive, but when I was 12 years old, I lost one of my close friends to suicide. And as a 12-year-old, I had no idea how to sort of process that information, except not really dealing with it at all. My mum was incredibly supportive. She, put me through counselling at school, but unfortunately the counselling service was not very good, shall we say. Anytime I would have an appointment, I would go in, and the counselling lady would ask me if I wanted to speak about what was going on, or whether I wanted to sit and play Uno with her. And obviously, as a 12-year-old child who is trying to deal with the, tragic loss of someone she was very close to, the prospects of having to sit and talk about that every week with a lady that I didn't even know, that was not a helpful process. And so I just opted to play Uno. I mean, now I'm a fantastic Uno player, so if anybody wants to take me on, you better watch yourself. But my point is, it just didn't work, and me not finding a way to deal with it professionally made me find a way to deal with it on my own. And obviously, as a 12-year-old child, I was not equipped to do that. I had no idea how to process any of the emotions or feelings that I felt, and my natural instinct is to just bottle it all up. Don't talk about it, don't acknowledge it, let it fester and sort of get worse and worse, which then leads me to find more toxic ways of handling it. And in this circumstance, obviously that toxic way was to comfort eat. Perhaps when I got to year 10, was when my real sort of insecurities and sort of detachment away from myself really started to happen. And what I mean by that is I do kind of have like a pivotal moment that happened which made me change how I presented myself to the world. I remember in year 10, it was sort of the last year that we had to do a sports day in my school. I was obviously chosen to do X amount of exercises, sports, whatever. And I remember being ready in my PE uniform. We used to have to wear these horrible, like, skin tight skirt things, like lycra skirts, not flattering at all to anyone, even if you were like a supermodel, and like a polo shirt. And I remember like getting changed into this. You know, obviously it's no secret I've never been skinny throughout my life. And I just remember standing in the changing rooms and feeling so self-conscious, and I knew I had to go outside and do all of this, but I felt awful. Like I just didn't want people to see me like that. So I chose to cover up. I put a jacket on, and my decision to put a jacket on that day, that carried on for years. I slowly changed my style to try to dress to hide my stomach, to hide my fat, to hide how I looked, my body. And that kind of only got worse over the years, and it kind of got to the point where I wouldn't even wear jeans anymore. I used to just tell people that I didn't like them or make up some rubbish excuse. When in reality, I mean, it was true, I didn't like them, but it was more that I just hated how I looked in them. You know, I just couldn't let people in public see me like that. It just ruined my kind of confidence. And that sort of progressed to when I was in year 11, a very small group of students, not just in year 11, but kind of throughout the older side of high school, went to Costa Rica to do a bit of an expedition, sort of where you go and help a community, climb a few mountains, you know, you lot know the drill. And I remember in particular we went to I think it's called like a mountain spring spa or something like this, where the water sort of naturally heated by the volcanic activity, stuff like that. Amazing, you know, swimming pool, should have been a great time. I was obviously getting changed with all of the girls in the changing rooms, and I was just kind of lagging behind everyone else, sort of intentionally getting dressed a lot slower. And all of the other girls obviously went swimming, and I was ready in my swimming costume, and I think I had like a sarong that I had tied around me, and I just remember catching a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I just broke down. Honestly, I burst out crying, like I really did. I hid in the toilet, was just hid in there for ages and ages, crying and just being so devastated, and not wanting to go out in public, not wanting people to see my body, not wanting people to see me like that. And I think eventually someone came to find me and sort of talked me down and talked a bit more of confidence back into me. And I did manage to sort of go and enjoy myself with the others eventually. But it was, I as I'm talking about it now, I can feel myself choking up, because all of those emotions are so real to me still, because it's still so fresh. You know, all of these sort of demons that I've fought in the past are feelings that I'm not sure I will ever be able to shake, really, because even talking about it now takes me right back to that feeling of like, it's so hard to disgust is the only word that I can use to just look in the mirror and hate what you see. And I'm not just talking, you know, like, oh, I hate how this body part looks, or I hate how this body part looks. Like, you look at yourself head to toe, and there isn't 1 inch of you that you like, or that you're happy with, or that you want to present to the world. And that was me at 16. At 16 years old, I was having these feelings. So from there, obviously, my perception of myself kind of only got worse over the years, because it was something that I never really spoke about as well. It's hard for me to say whether me speaking about all of this at the time would have helped me with my self-image and my self-worth and how I viewed myself, because I can't really make that judgment, because I don't know, because I never did. It was too raw, it was too personal for me to ever sit anybody down and be like, this is how I feel about myself, and I hate it, and I hate myself. And if I could transfer my, you know, energy and mind into another body and just abandon this one, then no amount of money would have been too much for me to have done that. And that was even from being that age, and this got worse and worse over the years. It really did. Everyone has experienced some kind of bullying within their life, and I know I'm not only speaking for myself when I say that, you know, some of the things that bullies do to you when you're a child stay with you, and they stay with you forever. And there was one bully in particular at my school who really made it his mission to make my life a living hell. And this was only when I was the age of, I can't have been older than about 7 or 8 years old. Somebody who was in the year above me, I was maybe in year 4, year 5, that sort of age. Every single break time, every single lunchtime, this person would take it upon themselves to find wherever I was in the playground and to just fire abuse at me, say really horrible things, harass me, not leave me alone. And it got to the point where I didn't want to go to school anymore. I just used to pull fake sick days and not want to go in. And it got to the point where obviously my mum was becoming suspicious of what was happening, because I was clearly not ill, but I clearly didn't want to go to school anymore. So obviously I did eventually speak out about it, and it did get addressed in school. But obviously the damage that was done by that was already done. And the bullying revolved around my appearance, around my weight, you know, around how I looked. So from there, it's always this sort of insecurity and self-doubt that I always had about my appearance and me being bigger than other people was constantly being fed into by different life events that were going on around me that reinforced the fact that I was different and I was bigger and I should feel some type of way about being bigger. When I look back on my time growing up until about the age of 16, and from the point of me getting older up until the point of being a teenager and starting to experience life and develop my own understanding of life and my own mentality and how I deal with things, it all starts to sort of make sense how I used food as a crutch, because it was one of the few things that provided me with comfort. I've always struggled with being very open with people and talking about my feelings and things that are bothering me and affecting me, and particularly my mental health. I wasn't even honest with my family about my struggle with my mental health and up until maybe a couple of years ago. And this is something that I've struggled with ever since kind of the point that I've just spoke to you guys about, when I was 12 years old and very tragically lost someone I was very close to. So I've only really spoken up to the age of 16, me kind of ending high school. There is so much more that I could have said. Maybe extra information will make its way into future videos. But I would say that the things that I've spoken about today have kind of been real key moments in my life that have shaped who I am and how I have had issues with food, and how that has progressed to, you know, me hitting my biggest weight. I would like to thank everybody so much for watching my videos and supporting me. As I'm sure you guys have seen in this video, it's something that is still very sensitive for me to talk about, and it does still make me feel very emotional, particularly when I take myself back to those moments of absolute self-hatred and hating how I look and wanting to hide myself away from the world at such a young age. It brings back a lot of raw emotions, it really does, but I think it's very important for me to get this information out there, as I've said, to spread awareness and to just share my story with you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and supporting me. I am so grateful for every single person who has shown me support throughout my weight loss journey and throughout this new adventure for me as well. To those of you who aren't aware, I am due to have an operation on the 30th of October. I am going to be talking about this operation with you guys. I'm hoping to start a vlog while it's being done. My intention is to make videos on my phone, which I can then obviously turn into a YouTube video for you guys, so you can see my process of having this operation, see my recovery, and see the end results as well. But I would just like to say that this operation is related to my weight loss journey, and it is the final chapter, hopefully, of this whole journey and situation for me. If you haven't already, then please press the subscribe button. Please check out for any new videos that I will be posting. I will be doing my best to post videos while I'm in recovery. I don't think I will be having a whole lot of other things to do, so that is my aim. But thank you everybody for watching. I hope everybody has enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for my next one. Thank you guys.